This is John Force, 16th-time funny car champion.
Hey guys, it's Justin Ashley, driver of the Phillips Connect Toyota Topeka Dragster.
Hi, I'm Robert Knight, 3-time funny car champion.
I'm Kyle Koretsky, driver of the Lucas Oil Chevy Camaro.
I'm Dallas Glenn, driver of the Radford Systems Pro Stock Camaro.
And you're watching Inside the NHRA.
And you're tuned in to Inside the NHRA.
You're watching Inside the NHRA. I'll tell you what, this is Anton Brown, I'm NHRA Top Fuel World Champion, and stay tuned in to Inside the NHRA.
If you want to be entertained, this is the show, and Darren is the guy to do it.
I'll tell you what, it wasn't scheduled this way, but guess what? We got ourselves a night race last night. Final rounds under the lights from iconic Heartland Motorsports Park. And I'll tell you what a perfect send-off to that iconic facility. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to this special episode of Inside the NHRA, streaming live on American Hot Rod Entertainment, Competition Plus, and the Dave W YouTube and Facebook channels. As always, I'm your host, Darren Williams Jr., and joining me right here, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Dave W. How's it going, Dave?
Oh, it's going great. Finally survived the 12 hours of Topeka. Man, that was quite a ride. I will be one of the first people to admit I did not think we were going to send a car down the racetrack on Sunday based on that weather forecast that they had and the showers and the ever-changing. I thought it was going to be the Monday Nationals for sure, but, you know, they got the Sportsman out of the way on Saturday night. They dodged a couple raindrops, a couple delays, and, man, they got it all in on Sunday. So huge shout-out to NHRA and the Safety Safari for getting that track going, and for Fox and FS1 for staying with the coverage basically all day live from first round to final round. That was pretty cool to see, too.
I'll tell you what, so super hot conditions on Friday. You got like mid-90s, mid-90 degree weather on Friday. A little cloud cover Saturday, so a little comfortable. Obviously, I wasn't there, but just from what I hear. And then we all saw the radar. Like you said, they ran a Sportsman to completion on Saturday night, and we looked at the radar. We said, hey, it's not looking too good. It's a little iffy. Woke up and it's raining. I'm calling Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. I'm calling Briar Star, who will be joining us in just a little bit on this show. They're saying it's raining, it's wind, it's thunder, it's lightning. And obviously, like you said, NHRA pushed the start time up from 11 a.m. to 10 a.m. to try to get this whole thing in. Well, obviously, that didn't happen. Racing didn't get started on Sunday until about 4 o'clock local time. So kind of a 6-hour rain delay. And like you said, shout out to Fox. They were live from start of the race to the finish of the race. And Dave, how fitting is that we finished this race under the lights? And I tell you what, it was dramatic and it was cool.
Oh, yeah, you pretty much had the whole complement of Topekas here. You had the mid-90s June race with the heat and humidity and just absolutely miserable conditions on the first couple of days. You had the overcast, looked like the 94 race, the Sears Craftsman Nationals of 94 when they were beating the rain with that ominous cloud cover in the background, nitro flames during the middle of the day because it was so dark. And then you had a throwback to some of the mid-90s, 95, 6, and 98 when they ended up thankfully not running until 2 in the morning, but the finals finished under the lights. So, yeah, it was a nice throwback memory for all of the Topeka events, and definitely cool to see it end at night.
For sure. Like you see at the bottom of the screen, first off, obviously we're going to, dive deep into it and really, dissect this whole race. But first off, Justin Ashley, I mean, he continues to keep it going. 6 wins on a year. And right now he's looking like the championship favorite, or one of the championship favorites, as we're approaching the countdown to the championship. Yeah,
definitely. They are, they've always been in championship contention throughout the year. He's just got to, like we always talk about, kind of keep the momentum going and get rid of some of them early round losses, because even with his successes and having the most wins on the season, he's not too far ahead of Steve Torrence in second. I mean, obviously it's only going to matter for 2 more races and then we're going to just wipe it all out anyway, but he's going to have a nice little added cushion, thanks to his Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty wins, which surprisingly he was in this weekend. And that was something he didn't win Steve Torrance took that one on Saturday. A rare non-Justin Ashley weekend slate.
Well, here's the thing, though. So, and obviously, this is a conversation for another day, but he makes it to the final round of the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. He doesn't get the 3 points, but with the runner up, he still gets 2 points out of it.
Yep.
You still walk away with, still walk away with some points. So not a bad weekend at all. And then in pro stock, I mean, the final round we've all been wanting to see. Both drivers have had kind of trying years so far here in 2023, but they were both strong here this weekend in Topeka, Kansas, and they faced off in the final round. That's Erica and Greg, one of the greatest pro stock rivalries of all time. And we saw that, and it looked like Greg was not going to lift in that final round because he did not want Erica to beat him, but Erica gets the win and strong performance from the Melly Performance and the world champion here in Topeka.
Yeah, I'm glad he did, because when that thing started skating, it looked like it started skating around half track, and it just started moving itself over. They were kind of mentioning a little bit. It seemed like some sprinkles might have been starting before the final, and they hurried up and got him up there. I don't know if there was something on the track or not. Greg was a little close to the center line in the semifinal round, but it stuck. It had no problem. But yeah, it seemed like third, fourth gear, man, that thing started spinning the tire and kicking the rear end out, and yeah, very, very fortunate that he pushed in the clutch and hit the parachutes, and still only lost by 200ths of a second. Still went, I believe, a 663 to Erica's 661 with the parachutes out, and the parachutes blew over the blocks right at the finish line. They thought that he might have caught them or hit them, but he did miss it. He did miss the center line. Just the parachutes blew him over. But yeah, what a way to end it. And that was thanks to the run schedule. The pro stock final ended up the show. So that was the last NHRA national event pass was Greg and Erica. So that's pretty cool. A little bit of history too.
Man, really fitting right there. And finally, in Nitro Funny Car, I tell you what, Bob Tasker, he said it all day. The car basically didn't make it to the finish line on all 3 passes. But, well, it made it to the finish line in the final round. Low ET of the event, exclamation point 388 in that final round. Badass win from Bob Tasker.
That was, and the big speed too, 332, which was the first. I'm pretty sure, yeah, nobody else did the first 330 all weekend. That first and only one that we had the entire time, which was just an absolute jaw-dropping run, and kind of what I was hoping, not for the fans in attendance and the racers that wanted to stay an extra day, but Monday's conditions were going to be overcast and much cooler than they had been all weekend, and I was kind of expecting the final round performances that we saw, which featured low ET in 2 of the 3 categories and second lowest in pro stock. That type of racing all day. I was surprised that it wasn't earlier throughout the day, but yeah, some big numbers put up, and that was definitely a jaw-dropping run right there with that 388, putting 500s on the field at the time, or 400s on the next best run in the 332. Just absolutely smoked them.
And I texted you this earlier, but I'm like, can we appreciate the celebration from Bob Tasker's team afterwards? I believe that was his kids on the starting line that was sticking their tongues out to the camera and doing a little L to the camera. I thought that was awesome. That celebration was super cool. So shout out to the Tasker team and, the guys and gals that were cheering on the starting line when he won the race. But like I said earlier, thank you guys all for tuning in to this special edition of Inside the NHRA. We are breaking down all the action from the 2023 Menards NHRA Nationals. I call it the NHRA Heartland Nationals, the final ever race from iconic Heartland Motorsports Park. And we're going to dissect this thing, go in depth, and bring all the highlights from each class in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock Car. If you're tuning in right now, make sure to like this show, share this show, leave a comment, and let everybody know we're breaking down all the action from Topeka. Before we get into it, the Mystic says, best broadcast in a long time. And I definitely do agree with that. Talking about on Fox, that was a great broadcast. Shout out to Brian Lones and Tony Petragon live for 5 plus hours on Fox Sports 1. Drag Racing Central says, we need a night race. I tell you what, we definitely do. It showed you right there how dramatic those final rounds were. And Darrell Craft, he says, what's up, little bro? Shout out to my buddy, Darrell Craft. And, before we get started, Drag Racing Central says we need a night race. And while I do agree, at least one on the schedule, because you don't want too many because it kind of dilutes it at a certain point, but it makes it just a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more cooler when it's not planned to be at night, but it is because of weather. Just makes it that much more cooler, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely exciting for me to know that it was going to end at night. I was a little bit worried that some of the other afternoon showers that they called for were going to come through, and that was going to be, okay, well, at least we made it 2 rounds and we're going to finish on Monday. So I'm glad that it stayed away and we didn't have to go try and race it till 2 a.m. like we did in 98.
Aaron Brooks mentioned that too after Bob Tasker won. He was like, hey, I was working on one of the teams that won when I don't know which team he was on, but obviously 25-year anniversary, he was on one of the teams that was up till 2 a.m. When that race was happening back in 98. So definitely right there. Dave, ready to kick this thing off?
Yeah, let's break it down.
Which class we starting off with? You got it this time.
Top Fuel Eliminator.
How about it? Justin Ashley and a Phillips Connect Top Fuel team does it again. He goes back-to-back on the season. Remember, he won the last race in Sonoma, but get this, 6th win of the year, 11th of his career. He has the points lead. He extends that points lead. And I'll tell you what, that Phillips Connect team, they are championship ready. They're ready for the countdown. They are ready to contend for the first championship.
For sure. And ironic fact about his wins, since you mentioned he went back-to-back, all 6 of his wins this year have been back-to-back.
Yeah.
He followed up his first back-to-back wins with a first-round loss. He followed his second setup with a runner-up at Norwalk. We'll see what as he goes for 3 in a row here at Brainerd. But yeah, more than half of your career wins here in this season, leading to points by 83. Definitely got a really good shot of going into the championship in the number 1 seed, adding in the extra bonus points, starting the countdown hot. Career year for Justin Ashley by far.
No, for real. And then how about this? Like, you think about it, 30 years ago, everybody knows it. Jim Epler, first funny car driver over 300 miles per hour. Well, 30 years later, sponsoring Justin Ashley's car with Phillips Connect, they win the final race from Heartland Park, Topeka. Kind of like a storybook ending to that race, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I was glad to see that Justin also mentioned in his interview, most people forget, Mike Ashley's first funny car win came at Topeka as well. And so definitely a lot of history with the team and with the family. So very fitting that he comes out there and picks up the last Top Fuel while he's at the track.
Man, that's cool. So you win on your dad's birthday in Sonoma a few weeks ago, and then you win where your dad got his first funny car win at the last event that's happening 2 weeks later. Man,
yep.
That's
pretty
awesome.
Cool for him.
Well, let's now take a look at the highlights of Justin Ashley's day from Topeka. First round taking on Josh Hart. And how about Josh Hart? He's been killing it on the tree lately. 0-13 reaction time here, but it's not going to matter as he smokes the tires. And Justin Ashley sails on through 375 at 329, 3.753, 329 miles per hour as Justin Ashley moves into round number 2. Then it's Justin Ashley and it's Leah Pruitt. Leah Pruitt finally gets a round win after having a donut on the Western Swing. Great drag race right here. Justin Ashley top end gets the win. Another 375, 3.755, 327 as Justin Ashley is moving into the semifinals. Then it's the matchup of the teammates. It's Justin Ashley, Antron Brown. Rematch of your final round from Sonoma a few weeks ago. Another great drag race. Top end. Justin Ashley gets the win on a whole shot. 3.726, 326 to Antron Brown's 3.711 at 325. Justin Ashley is moving into another final round. That Phillips Connect team, I'll tell you what, they are hauling. On the other side of the ladder, how fitting is it? We're going to use the word fitting a lot here on this episode. He's going to take on the reigning top field champion, Brittany Force. Those were the two who fought it out for the championship last year, and they're going to duke it out in the final round here at Topeka. So let's now take a look at the highlights of Brittany Force's day from Heartland Motorsports Park. First round taking on Sean Langdon. This is actually your first pair to kick off the day. Sean Langdon has a cylinder out. Brittany Force, 3.787, 321 to Sean Langdon's 385. Brittany Force is moving on into round 2. Then it's the Capco boys, the 4-time champ, taking on the reigning champ, Brittany Force. They raced the round number 2 in Sonoma. Steve won this one. Well, how about it? Brittany's going to win this one right here on a whole shot. 378 with the 1 at 321 to Steve Torrance's 376 with the 6 at 327. Brittany Force moving into the final round here in Topeka, Kansas. Then it's Clay Milliken and it's Brittany Force. And how about this? A quick little rain shower came through. This isn't low ET of the event, but it was low ET of the event at the time. 371 with the 7 at 329. Brittany Force, a monster run, no pun intended, to move into the final round. Killer run. Look at that. David Grubnick, he got a swagger back right there. He knows it. That's awesome. So
it was low ET at the time, and it still did hold up as top speed of the meet. So you can add that to her list of another one yet for this season, and still chasing history. That's her 62nd top speed of the meet overall. Puts her even closer to moving up to the next spot in line. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about both sides of the ladder? Justin Ashley comes out there in his first round light. He's 033 and gets left on. And he's like, what's going on here? Comes back the next round. He's 035. And then in the semis, 039. So, I mean, he was living in the 30s. And obviously, as we'll see in the finals, he remains there. but a lot on the line for him, his team. And like you said, fitting that he's against Brittany. David Grubnick has got a lot of history at this track too. Obviously, his first and his last Top Fuel wins came here as a driver, and still looking to turn that car around and put the big numbers up on the board. And man, that final round was definitely a free for all. And both drivers hit the tree, and both drivers ran low ET at a weekend, number 1 and number 2 quickest times. And flames up to the finish line. That was an awesome way to do it. So I know Pro Stock ran last, but if Top Fuel had run last, that would have been an epic way to close out Heartland Motorsports Park's NHRA career.
Well, Dave, we have the final round right here. It's Justin Ashley. It's Brittany Force. It's your final round from Topeka, Kansas. Let's take a look right now.
The Top Fuel final round at Topeka at night. Who leaves with the Wally and heads to Brainerd with the momentum? 34 light for Ashley, heading down the racetrack at the finish line stripe. It's Justin Ashley. 3:7:02 beats a 3:7:07. Another command performance for this young man. 0:34 reaction time. Brittany Force was again brilliant. She was 49 on the tree. Run 7:07. Bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it.
Justin, and they were just remarking about 6 wins on a season. It's your 11th Wally total, and you are holding a Wally that every Top Fuel driver on this property wanted today. It is a memorable one. It go down in history. How will you tell the story on such a unique day?
Well, just like that, it was a unique day. You know, this track has a lot of history for us as a team. Actually, my father won here in 2007, and then Jim Epler was the first person to go 300 miles per hour in a funny car here at Topeka, and then this is the last race at Topeka. To do it at night like this, you know, it's funny, I was getting in the car and I said to Dustin Davis, I said, this is pretty cool, isn't it? And he said, yeah, I think this is pretty cool, Justin. So, man, I'm along for the ride, and what a ride it's been. You know, Phillips Connect has done so much for our team and everybody from the whole Phillips industry side. We're so grateful for them and Toyota, Kato, Lucas Oil, Mac Tools. This team made 4 incredible turnarounds. So I have so much gratitude for everybody, and thank you, fans, for sticking it out today, and hi to my family watching at home.
Dave, what a final round that was. You talked about the light. 0:34 in the final round. He was on it again, 30s all throughout the day, but man, that was amazing. Header flames at night, all the way to the finish line, side by side. Couldn't ask for a better final in Top Fuel Eliminator and a better send-off at the final race from Heartland Park, Topeka.
But, you know, Brittany was right there, too, with an 0:49 light and a 70 with a 7. So it's not like, you know, he had a 30 light and she had a 90 and he just crushed her. They were a 100th apart on the start and, you know, about the same at the finish. So that was a great race. The only thing that, you know, they probably wish they turned the knobs a little bit further on that flavor pack entry and tuned her up into a 60. It might have been enough to pay off, but she wasn't going to – I mean – an 0:34, you got to have like a first round Josh Hart type light to win that type of deal on a hole shot. So, yeah, that was an awesome way to end this day for the Top Fuel dragsters.
I was literally going to ask you. I was like, were you surprised just a little bit that we didn't see a 60 in that final round, at least from Grubby and Brittany Force? That we at least see 160 in that final round.
I'm surprised that we didn't see a 360, and I'm surprised that we didn't see a 330 mile an hour run. In all of the years that they've run Heartland Park in August, Top Fuel dragsters have never reached 330 miles an hour there. The last one, you'd have to go back to 2019 to get a 330 mile an hour Top Fuel run there, which is just shocking. I don't know what it is about this particular time of year. I mean, the weather was there, the air was there. They're running low 70s, but and they were killing it early because they were a couple of the runs were 294 to 296 at the 8th mile or 295 at the 8th mile. So they were hitting it down low. It just didn't seem like it carried to the finish. Maybe too much of a headwind.
For sure. And what I also love too is that after that final round, seeing and not love it, but it was just, you see the dejection on Brittany Force's face afterwards. They showed it on Fox. You know, she's still sitting in the car with the canopy up and just kind of trying to take it all in, trying to digest what happened on the run. I feel like I equate losing a close drag race like that to being in a car crash. It's like the reason why is because you just wish you could rewind time like a few seconds to say, hey, I wish I could have done this a little bit different. So just to see the dejection on Brittany Force's face, obviously she was more graceful in her interview, you know, saying, hey, at the end of the day, it's a step in the right direction. But just to see that passion in her eyes afterwards, I thought that was really cool. But Dave, it's that time of the show. Who's our high performer of the race from the 2023 Menards NHRA Nationals?
Man, your Mopar high performer is going to be Justin Ashley. No doubt. Like you said, 6th win on the year, 11th of the career, extends his points lead to 83 over Steve Torrance, picked up 2 bonus points in the Too Fast, Too Tasty Countdown Challenge. And what can you say? Guy's having a career year, and can't wait to see how long it keeps on keeping on.
And 6 wins on a season, that's nothing to sneeze about. Before Gary Selzy broke that in 2000, like that was kind of like the standard of wins for a top field season. Like if you won 6 races, that was cream of the crop right there.
And where did Gary Selzy break that at?
Pomona. No. He finished off his last one of the season was at Pomona. Topeka.
There you go. 7th win of the year came at Topeka in 2000, and that extended. That was the winningest top fuel season in history. Now, I mean, if you look at it, Steve Torrance is, the most recent dominator of the series or the class. You go back to his 2019 season, he had 9 wins on the year. Justin's already got 6, and we still got the countdown to go. We still got Indy to go. We still got Brainerd. So there's no telling where this one ends up at. Do you think he can make it to double digits?
I don't think so. Just too much competition. This is really shaping up to me like a Robert Hight type of year last year, where he had 6 wins in the regular season, won 2 more in the countdown. I think the most he'll win at this point is 8 or 9. 10, I think is just a little too tough, especially with all the competition. I think the level of competition definitely raises once we get to the countdown to the championship. But like we said, 6 wins so far. Still 2 races left in the regular season, but this is shaping up to be a season where it'll be a disappointment if you don't win the championship.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you have that kind of a dominance early on, I mean, that's kind of like what was it, 2017 when Steve Torrance did so well, and then Brittany came in and kind of stole it away at the end, and the welfare system, as he called it at that particular time.
The welfare point system.
Welfare points. But Brittany was probably dejected too, because I mean that was her best shot to get her first win of the season. I mean, we're already in August, and the Flavor Pack car still hasn't won a national event yet, and that is just mind-boggling to me. That you don't want to go into the countdown winless, and it seems like a lot of drivers are going to start the countdown with a big old goose egg in the win column, and that's not a good time to try and have the pressure of getting your first win of the year.
No, for sure. But saying that, though, do you think that this is a step in the right direction for that team? First conventional final of the year in a 2Y format. Do you think that this is like I said, David Grubnick looked like he had his swagger back a little bit, after that semifinal round, and just knowing that, hey, I might be a little lost, because remember I said Sonoma, he looked a little perplexed. I might be a little lost on the hot racetracks, but when we get to a Reading, if it's cool, a St. Louis, if it's cool, a Pomona, I can run those big numbers and really win those rounds in the countdown.
They didn't throw down the big numbers here this weekend, surprisingly, even in the cool conditions. And, I go even back to Bristol when Justin Ashley broke the top speed of the meet string that Brittany had going with that monster 336 run. We don't really think of, I guess you wouldn't say Justin Ashley or Steve Torrance as those guys. By the way, shout out to Steve Torrance, his first number 1 qualifier of the as type runs compared to everybody's always waiting for, Brittany. Brittany always is the benchmark of qualifying, of how low can they go? How low can Grubnick get the car? And you haven't really seen that a lot lately. So, I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but they still didn't leave here with low ET. They did with top speed, but they didn't leave with low ET. They didn't leave with the Wally. Good points day. She's still 3rd place in points, best of the rest, but 200 Justin Ashley, which just tells you the kind of season that Justin has had. If you think about the struggles Brittany's had, and she's still 3rd, so what does that tell you about everybody else in the field, not named Justin Ashley and Steve Torrance?
Definitely for sure. Let's now see how it all shaped out in Top Fuel Eliminator from the final Heartland Nationals. And one guy I kind of want to give a shout out to right there in the semifinals, Clay Milliken, another semifinal appearance. So you talk about the win in Chicago, but in the last 4 races, that's a win in Denver and a semifinal finish in Seattle and Topeka. That team is definitely trending in the right direction.
They are. And his second round opponent, Scott Palmer, who took out Tony Schumacher in the first round. Tony has not had great success at Topeka. It has not been one of his best tracks at all. And this weekend was just another example of that. Even, he's probably one that's okay with not having to go back. But shout out to Scott Palmer for coming out for one of his rare appearances and advancing, picking up a round win. And Lex June for showing up. First run on Friday was good enough to make the show. Tough opponent. Definitely interesting to see the way that went down. And how the track conditions would have been. But, shout out one-run qualifier, and you're in the show. They learn some stuff. They get their tune-up set. They're going to be ready to attack the U.S. Nationals here in a couple weeks.
So what you're saying basically off Tony Schumacher is kind of like Atlanta. It's kind of happy he's not going back, huh? No success, no success at Atlanta, no success in Topeka. Well, tough success in Topeka, Kansas. He's happy not to go back.
I know that you had mentioned before one of his getting the Army's 100th win here. I don't think he's had very much luck, and he's been mostly an early round loser here at the track. So, he's probably one that would not mind. And it's unusual because, we talk about it all the time. They're all 1,320 foot of asphalt and concrete, and some guys do well and some guys don't. As I checked the record, that was Tony's only win that he had here, and he'd only been in 2 final rounds total with 1 win out of all the events that he's run. So happy to not come back.
I remember when he won Topeka back in 2010, like you said, 100th win for the Army, and they kind of played that up because it was like, well, now that he's won Topeka, Atlanta's the only track that's still in the schedule that Tony Schumacher is still yet to win. And I believe he went to the final there in 2011 and came up short. I'm pretty sure he went back to the final there a few years later, but Atlanta was always snake bitten for Tony Schumacher in his career.
He was actually in back-to-back finals in 2011, 2012.
Oh, lost to Steve Torrence.
2012. That was the first career win for
Steve Torrence.
There you go. Lost to Antron Brown, lost to Steve Torrence, and then made another final again in 2017 where he again lost to Steve Torrence. So those were, and his other one was in 2008 where he lost to Antron. So he's been in 4 finals, lost 2 to Antron and 2 to Steve at Atlanta. So of all the runs that, and he was in, I take that back. He was also in 2000. He lost to Selzy. So he did have a couple of opportunities to win Atlanta, but just could never seal the deal. At least he did get a win at Topeka before it's off the schedule, so I have that to hang his hat on.
That 08 final from Atlanta between Antron Brown and Tony Schumacher, that was a heck of a final round. On a hole shot, Antron Brown, second career top field win at nighttime because, again, rain. Ashley Force just picked up her first win against her dad, John Force. That was a pretty great event right there, Atlanta 08. Pretty great win.
Since we're talking about Tony, just that in his struggles at Topeka in general, another first round loss, 12th in points. He's 100 behind Sean Langdon in 11th, and those 2 guys are both out of the countdown. Would be out of the countdown, but since they've gone full time for the full season, they're both going to be in it. But what does that say? Talk about somebody that needs to really try and find some momentum going into the countdown. That's definitely a team that needs it.
And we could talk about the participation rule all we want, but I mean, we are pretty much getting robbed of. I mean, you look at the top field point standings right now. Tony Schumacher, I mean, he pretty much would need a miracle going into the U.S. Nationals to make the countdown, even with points and a half. He would need Clay Millican and Sean Langdon to pretty much go out first round and him win the race and pick up all the bonus points, basically. But I mean, Clay Millican and Sean Langdon with points and a half, that could still be a pretty good battle going into the U.S. Nationals. But of course, they automatically make the countdown. So
but hold on, leave the points up there now. So there are at this particular point in the season, there's Brainerd that's left, and then Indy, and like you say, Indy's points and a half. But Brainerd has 4 qualifying sessions. So right now there are 325 points remaining in the season for the Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock cars that are left. Now, you're talking about Sean Lane and Clay Millican. Clay's only 3 behind Josh, who's only 5 behind Salinas, who's only 30 behind Coletta, who's only 50 behind Austin Prock, who's only 10 more behind Leah, who's only 20 more behind Antron. So with 320 some points still left on the table, I mean, that would be a huge jump or a huge move. Any of those guys would not feel safe from Langdon or anybody trying to knock him out. I mean, if Langdon and Clay and Josh have great weekends, Salinas could be the odd man out. Coletta could be the odd man out. I mean, you could fall just if you have 2 bad races at this point. So, I mean, Tony would have an outside shot for sure with 325 points still remaining. Obviously, that is the most you can gain, and that's assuming that the other people don't show up. We know everybody's going to show up, so that number is drastically smaller than what it's going to be. But Tony has an outside shot, and if they had a typical Tony Schumacher U.S. Nationals and could put one in the winner's circle at points and a half, that'd be a good time to do it and could step them right back into the game. So
Well, hey, Dave.
yeah,
This ain't 06 no more, man. This ain't 06 no more.
I know. But we are robbed of that. That is likely going to be, unless somebody misses a race, that is your 12 countdown drivers, because nobody else from 13 back can point their way in. So these are going to be your resets. Now they're
like
just battling for what position they're going to be in. And like I say, from 4th to 10th, I mean, that's even, I guess, 3rd all the way back. I mean, that's any of those positions can still swap around.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said, this is all kind of hypothetical. You know, if we didn't have the participation award, we would have a freaking great battle going into the final 2 races of the regular season. Before we move on from top fuel, you mentioned Scott Palmer. I want to give a shout out to him for winning around here, coming out here in Topeka, Kansas, taking down Tony Schumacher round number 1. But how about that cool PBR paint scheme, joining the PBR, you know, kind of merging them with the NHRA? Got a little awkward as well because, you know, the Camping World now sponsors the PBR Team Series, and they're leaving NHRA after next season. So a little awkward kind of right there, but cool to see PBR in the NHRA. And Doug Coletta, back-to-back final rounds on the Western Swing in Denver and Seattle, back-to-back first-round losses in Sonoma and Topeka. So hopefully that team can get back on track heading into Brainerd, Minnesota. Any final thoughts on Top Fuel Day before we move on?
Just a shout out to the guys that showed up, and Jacob Menil didn't end up making the show, but how about some of the part-timers that showed up? Buddy Hull came and he put on a good run. Terry Totten was there. Some of the guys that you don't see on the schedule could be a little bit of a tune-up for Indy. And I hope that we have we go back to the U.S. Nationals, we get 20-plus top fuel cars again, trying to make that show, because that made Indy really awesome for the qualifying sessions.
For sure. Got a comment right here. Shame we needed a rain delay to get one of the best NHRA broadcasts in Ohio. It was a really good broadcast, though. The year of pain for us Tony Schumacher fans continue. And then Sean says, Grubby's still testing near as I can tell. And another comment here from NXTL68. It's been a weird to see Brittany and company not dominating the field, but the little teams are on the come up in Top Fuel Eliminator. Ford Purley says, and shout out to this guy, because he really supports our channels. He says, you both are doing a great job. Love the show. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that, man. Really do appreciate that. And Darrell Crav, interesting question right here. He says, I know this is a little off subject, but what's going on with Billy Torrance? Haven't seen him in a while, too much to this point. I know he still does some, I believe, Super Comp racing. He was racing
Topeka at Super Comp. Yeah. So he was there.
Comp.
He was running Super Comp.
For sure. But just haven't seen him in the Top Fuel Dragster in quite some time. Not sure where he's at, Love to see Billy Torrance back out there. And our buddy James Claus, he says, I say you will see 20-plus Top Fuel cars and funny cars at Indy this year. And I definitely would love to see that. All right. Well, Top Fuel Eliminators in the books. Let's now move on to the Floppers Nitro Funny Car. Well, he said after Friday night qualifying that they pretty much have the best car on the planet in qualifying, but they're kind of snake bitten on race day. Well, I'll tell you what, they weren't snake bitten on race day here at Topeka, Kansas. They put on a show in final eliminations and an exclamation point in the final round, 388, to knock out the Hulk, Matt Hagan. Bob Tasker gets the win, 14th of his career, but second of the season. Man, what a performance from BT3.
Yeah, like you said, 14th of his career, and that moves him up. If you're looking at the overall funny car wins list, who he ties with that win?
Who's he tie?
Nobody. He's the only one with 14.
But he's one behind Al Hoffman, right?
He's all alone. He's one behind Hoffman. Hoffman's got 15, but he's all alone, 17th on his list, on the all-time wins list with 14. So, yeah, he started the season 21st. So he is working his way up that wins list pretty quickly, just picking them up and putting them down. And the biggest thing for me was how they kept saying all day they got a little bit closer to getting that thing to run to the finish line. Kept shutting off a little bit early, a little bit later. Well, that thing ran to the finish line in the finals, and boy, did he lay it down with a 388, 332 mile an hour blast.
And can we talk about Bob Tasca's celebrations? I mean, they're pretty much just like Austin Prock when he gets on the wing after winning a national event. When Bob Tasca gets on the hood and does the fist pump in the air, and this was even cooler at night because you got the flash bulbs going off, and it's at night was a lot cooler. Like you said, one behind Al Hoffman now, but correct me if I'm wrong, he also passes Raymond Beadle and Chuck Etchells.
He does, yeah. Raymond, well, he was tied with them at 13, Raymond and Chuck, and now he's ahead of them. Sole position is 17th place.
There you go. BT3 in the 4. So let's now take a look at the highlights of Bob Tasca's day. First round taking on Blake Alexander. Blake Alexander needs this round win to keep his countdown hopes alive. He has to fight his way into the countdown, but going to smoke the tires right here. He runs into trouble. Bob Tasca, like I said, cylinders out almost, near the center line. 405 with the 3 at 277. He survives, but BT3 is moving. It's round number 2. Then it's Bob Tasca and it's Alexis Joria. What a great drag race this was right here. You're going to see Del Worsham. He's like, man, just a little bit more. But Bob Tasca gets the win. 402 with a 5 at 308. Bob Tasca moving into the final 4. See the crew right there. They like it. Aaron Brooks. Worsham like, man, just a little bit more. We could have had him. But BT3 is moving into the semifinals. Then it's your number 1 qualifier, Robert Height, taking on Bob Tasca the 3rd. And Bob Tasca outruns him by 0.03 of a second. 3.933 at 305. So Robert Height is 396 with the 9 at 320. Bob Tasca is moving into his back-to-back final round here at Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas. In the final round, he's going to take on the Hulk, Matt Hagan. So let's now take a look at the highlights of Matt Hagan's day. First round, Matt Hagan taking on Alex Laughlin. Easy round win right here. Cylinders out, smoking the tires, but he gets to the finish line first. 403 with the 9, 283. Matt Hagan moving into the quarterfinals. Then in round number 2, it's the battle of the orange cars. It's American Rebel. It's Skag. It's Tim Wilkerson. It's Matt Hagan. And great drag race right here. 398 to a 398. Matt Hagan, 398 with the 7 at 317 to Tim Wilkerson's 398 with an 8 at 322. Matt Hagan gets the win in a close drag race. Wow, I'm telling you what, top end, he gets the win. Matt Hagan moving into the semifinals. Then it's our most recent winner, J.R. Todd, and it's Matt Hagan. 2 world champions right here. Top end to the finish line, side by side. Another great drag race. 393 to a 394. Matt Hagan, 3.933, 329 to J.R. Todd's 3.945, 323 as Matt Hagan moves into the final round. Dave, anything you want to say before we take a look at this final?
Man, I got to tell you, it's funny as you're looking at him. It's like I was wondering what the crew chiefs were thinking when they came up there. Everybody was probably real iffy about first round. 4-0s were going rounds. Then they get into the 3, upper 3s, then to mid 3s, and then they swing for the fences in the final. It seemed like they gave a little bit more. And this epic final round under the lights, flames up to the finish. And can't wait to take a look back at it because it was awesome.
A hero run in the final round. And before we look at this final, isn't it kind of funny? So, we're making this whole big deal about night racing, right? The final rounds at night. Well, we've seen night racing before, especially in today's day in drag racing. We see it on Friday nights, but it doesn't compare to when it's actually in competition with something on the line. Just makes it that much more better.
Yeah, and they did mention, too, I mean, Hagan was a little bit off, but compared to the reaction time you'll see that he has in the final, they're like, well, he kind of chunked it in a little bit, so maybe gave up a little bit more ET, might have had a closer light to Tasca, and could have been a low 90 that was side by side with him. But you're always trying to get to the finish line first. So the ET, the number don't really matter at this particular point like it does in Friday night qualifying or Saturday qualifying, as we found out with the Epping eliminations run during Bristol. They had to approach those runs differently. Yeah, you want to get yourself set up low in the show and as high in the ladder as you can, but you're also trying to win rounds. So it's real difficult and it's a fine balance. But when you're just trying to be first to the finish line, there's definitely a different mindset, a different ambiance to the night race.
Oh, for sure. And as you guys take a look right now, Matt Hagan is going to put the top bulb out in the final round. Like Dick LaHaye always says, stay shallow round 1 through 3. Give me that ET. But in the final round, I don't care what you do because it doesn't matter after that. Let's now take a look at the final round between BT3, Bob Tasca, and Matt Hagan.
The funny car finals off. Hagan, a brutal 0.24 reaction time. The 2 blast furnaces head to the finish line. And it's Bob Tasca, the 3rd, running 388.5 at 332.26 miles an hour. That was a brawl.
Bob, you called what you needed out of that funny car ahead of this final. You're going to go back and watch this final and see your family and friends absolutely lose their mind at this starting line. When you look at what this team has accomplished in picking up this final win in Topeka, where are you guys headed?
I'll tell you one thing, it's an emotional win for me. This team has worked so hard all year. Todd Okahara and Aaron Brooks, I don't know what to say. They're just incredible guys to race with. For BG, for Ford, so proud. I'm going to the Vegas Ford dealer meeting this week, and I'm bringing all the Ford dealers and all the Ford fans the trophy. Give me that trophy over here. All right, and if this is the last one, you know where to find it. And happy birthday, Mom. My mom's birthday is tomorrow. Number 1, baby. Ford's in the winner's circle. Yeah! Yes, yes, yes!
Oh man, they didn't show it. They didn't show the girl, and she's like sticking her tongue out to the fox. She's like, and then
I don't remember seeing that. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh man, they didn't show it.
But I'm sure it happened.
Well, how about this? You got Justin Ashley a few weeks ago in Sonoma, winning on his dad's birthday. Bob Tasca gets the win the day before actually, happy birthday to Mama Tasca, because it's today. This was Sunday, so obviously, happy birthday to Mama Tasca. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah,
for sure,
awesome.
for sure.
But definitely, how about that? Badass win for Bob Tasca, moving in the right direction. Second win of the year, 14th of his career, and really making a statement, a late charge here in the final stages of the regular season.
You know, the other cool thing about the finals at night is you don't see it as much anymore because they kind of leave close together, but you always used to see who's ever Flames came up first. You could always tell who was off the line. And in that particular final, maybe it was just an optical illusion. I know there was about a 3-mile-an-hour speed difference through the traps, but did it look like Tasca was just driving away from Hagen? Maybe it was just a camera view. Maybe it was because he was at the 1320 instead of the 1,000-foot. But it was Hagen was on a run, and Tasca was just like gone. And, they spent a lot of time in his pits on the Fox show prior to that, showing the engine rebuild, showing him do the warm-up, setting all the timers and everything, which was really cool to see. And, Todd Okahara and the crew, man, they got that thing hauling. And if they can keep up these performances into the countdown, that'll bode pretty well for them. They're not going to start at the top in the countdown, but that did move him up from 7th to where he end up at 5th in the points with that particular win. So, getting hot at the right time, and you're only a round or two behind being all the way up to 3rd, that position's kind of just a yo-yo battle.
No, for sure, for sure. You take a look at the funny car point standings right here. You see Matt Hagen, your runner-up. He's 1st in points. Ron Capps, a little quiet the past couple races. He's 2nd. Robert Height, not the season we thought he would have after that strong year last year. He still sits 3rd in the points, though. That just goes to show right there how funny car is here in 2023. We're going to talk about Blake Alexander in just a little bit. But before we do that, though, final thing on Bob Tasca. Like I said, strong performance in Topeka. Strong year last year. Has had a past few years have been pretty strong, especially with Mike Neff and John Schaefer. But when they left at the end of last season, we're like, well, hey, how will Bob Tasca pretty much do here in 2023? I think I was like, hey, I don't think they'll have the same type of success they had in previous years. Well, they've proven us all wrong. Aaron Brooks, who was a very aggressive crew chief and one of my favorite crew chiefs, actually. I've always been a fan of Aaron Brooks. He's, like you said, Todd Okahara, one of the best to ever do it. They pretty much – Todd Okahara – with Schumacher last year, I mean, they struggled big time. So I feel like both crew chiefs have had something to prove here in 2023, and are definitely doing that.
Yeah, and you know what? It doesn't matter if you tune a dragster, a funny car, if you're on a high buck team, a low buck team, whoever it is, anytime you can go home with a trophy, that's good morale for the crew. It doesn't matter, even if you're not laying down hero runs, but you're walking away with the Wally. I mean, that's got to be great motivation to keep going ahead and pushing harder and proving the naysayers wrong, showing, hey, I can do this, and they're doing it. 2 wins on the season, and they're pretty consistent. They're going rounds, they're running good in qualifying. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up as we go into the countdown, going through Brainerd and Indy, and then see how we get to some of these tracks later in the end of the year.
For sure. And Matt Hagen, he's a runner-up. Not much to say about him. Another strong performance. He's our points leader. Let's now move into the semifinal rounds, and let's take a look at one of the guys, J.R. Todd, another semifinal appearance. I was wondering how that team will respond after their win in Sonoma, and I'll tell you what, they did not lay over. Semifinal in Norwalk, semifinal in Denver, final round in Seattle, a win in Sonoma, semifinal in Topeka, Kansas. This team is definitely moving in the right direction, heading into the countdown to the championship and the later stages of the regular season. You take a look at this graphic right here. J.R. Todd's season on the rise, 2023 season so far, first 8 races, no wins, 1 runner-up in Gainesville, 5-7 round record, 1 DNQ, which came out of Las Vegas 4-wide, 5 first-round losses, was 10th in points. You talk about the last 5 races, 1 win, which came in Sonoma, 1 runner-up, like I just mentioned, in Seattle, 13-4 round record, 7 qualifying 7th, average qualifying position, 0 first-round losses, it sits 8th in points. So that team is definitely trending in the right direction, heading into the later stages of the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. And, JR, I'm pretty sure that I heard him say on the PA on NHRA TV is now driving the car that they started the season with that was originally damaged in the Pomona incident.
Yes.
They've got that car back. They've got everything worked out with it, and that's what he was driving currently. And this is the performance that they were trying to realize with the car at the beginning of the season. They're getting it sorted out and getting hot at the right time and working their way up the ladder. That's for sure.
PBRC1, Precision Built Race Cars, #1, first chassis.
I think you also might have shortchanged him a spot in the points. I got him as 7th.
He's 7th? Okay. Well, let's see. We actually got the points right here. Let's see.
We'll put him back up. Where are we at?
You're at
the 8th?
I got 8.
763. Where are we at here? JR Todd, 66, and we show him at 51. You know what? He probably had an oil down, and they dinged him some points for that.
Gotcha.
That's where I missed it at somewhere. Because I've got him as having a little bit more points than Tim, but that's what the official standings are, and I don't always keep track of the oil downs or centerline infractions as they come up, and that's probably where the discrepancy comes from. So 8th, still not bad, still a round behind Wilkerson and 3 rounds behind Alexis, and we were just talking about Alexis being 3rd in points. So funny cars are real topsy-turvy, just through the middle of the pack, kind of like Top Fuel is. And you were talking about Robert Height quietly being 3rd in points. He only has 10 more points than his Top Fuel counterpart, Brittany Force. So they've kind of had mirror images their season. He's got 839. She's got 829. They're both 3rd in their respective classes. So, no, they're not going out there and knocking it down and winning all the events. But Brittany's made hers up in qualifying bonus points, and Robert's got more rounds that he's been in eliminations and a couple of wins here. But quiet season for those guys. And, Chad Green, surprising that he fell off this particular weekend and didn't go as far as he did in eliminations normally. And that cost him a spot. Tasca moving up, Alexis having those troubles in qualifying, not being able to back up. She still goes a couple of rounds, gets around John Force first round, who has really been kind of struggling of late. Picked up a couple qualifying bonus points, but he finds himself down at the bottom half of the point standings here. And kind of surprising. It'd be interesting to see if they can get their season turned around too. Cruz Pedregon, man, just another struggling weekend down to 10th in points. And then that lost the first round to Paul Lee. But, hey, shout out to Paul Lee. They're finally getting it together, getting down the track and stringing down consistent runs, and Paul's going around. So it just seems like the funny car field and the Top Fuel field, for some reason, they just seem to yo-yo back and forth. Some guys do really good, and then they fall off. Other guys fall off, then they do really good, and it just goes back and forth. And it's a really tight mid-pack field. If you just didn't have, in Top Fuel, Justin and Steve running away with it, and in Funny Car, Hagen and Caps running away with it. I mean, it would be cool to see that battle all the way throughout, but they've definitely separated themselves from the rest of the field.
For sure. You mentioned battles at the top. Well, let's now take a look. Let's bring up the points one more time. Look at the battle at the bottom. Like I mentioned earlier with Blake Alexander, he has to fight his way into the countdown. Despite winning Norwalk, he has not attended all the races. So I am terrible at math, so I don't know how many points he's actually back. But by my calculations, that's about 3 or 4 rounds. He's out of 10th place with 2 races left to go. What do you think are Blake Alexander's chances of making the countdown to the championship?
Well, I mean, at this particular point, I'm assuming they're going to Brainerd. I don't know that for a fact. I would assume that they're going to Indy. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm thinking that they're going to be with it for throughout the rest of the next 2 races.
66 points.
What's that?
66 points. That's it.
66, correct.
Yeah,
my curiosity would be, if they made it, would they run all the countdown races?
Mm-hmm.
Because, they skip some here and there, and would they take any off? And is it really, I guess, to that particular team, is it important for them to be in it or not?
Yeah,
I don't know. I would think it's important for anybody. Obviously, Alex Laughlin's going to be in. There are 2 other drivers, Terry Haddock and Paul Lee, that have outside chances of pointing their way in. They would definitely have to have career races back-to-back to be able to do it. Cruz is going to be in no matter what, even if he gets bumped down to 11th because they've run the full season. But the way that car has been performing lately and the way that the Jim Head car has been performing lately, I would probably tip the nod to Blake making the top 10 if Cruz keeps having two first-round bow-outs and Blake goes to the second round in both events. If he goes to Brainerd and Indy, that should be enough points to get him by.
For sure. And we got a comment here from Monday Morning Racer. He says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Monday Morning Racer was in Topeka doing a lot of great work for the alcohol classes everywhere in general, working for McKinney Motorsports. Like, Lee is everywhere. He's the man. I'll tell you what. Hard-working man right there. Man, got to tip your hat to Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. Durrell Craft says, Hess team will be in Indy. We live in Ohio. It's an hour and a half away. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no notes on Brainerd.
Well, I mean,
I would assume Brainerd.
They fought their way in last year. Remember, had the heads-up race with Chad Green first round.
Correct.
So, I mean,
and you know what? To be honest with you, even if they didn't go to Brainerd and Cruz went out first round again, they could probably go a couple of rounds at Indy and still pass him anyway with the points and a half.
There you go. One more comment from Mark Gibson. He says, "That's quite a comeback for Todd and the team. I'm very happy for them." Definitely, I do agree with that. Tough start to the season. You mentioned the crash with John Force, blowing up in round 1 against Alex Laughlin, DNQing in Las Vegas, and they have certainly turned around. Like Brian Lone said on the Fox broadcast, that really turnaround came in Epic, New Hampshire. That's when they really start to turn that car around. Monday Morning Racer says, "Alki report out tonight. Hopefully, I'm still in Topeka." Hey, MMR, come even 5 minutes. Come on the show, man, real quick. I'm gonna send you a invite. Come on real quick. I'm not taking no for an answer. Come on real quick.
We want to hear about all the testing numbers today because I'm sure they were probably hauling the mail in the cool air that they had.
Yeah. Keep talking, Dave. I'm gonna send Leah invite real quick. Keep talking.
All right, where are we going next? Are we still breaking down this funny car stuff, or do you want to throw up the Sportsman winners while you're doing that? That way we can kind of go through that part of the show too.
Well, in the end, Bob Tasker gets the win, second win of the year. He won his home race, Epping in Bristol, and picks up another win in Topeka. Goes back-to-back, actually, in Topeka, Kansas, 14th of his career. Let's now move on to Sportsman now. Actually, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll do Sportsman and then wrap up the show with Pro Stock Car.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your center console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside the NHRA as we recap the final Menards NHRA Nationals from iconic Heartland Park Motorsports Park. The reason why I got so jumbled up because I almost said Kings of the Sport. I do so many shows. I do Kings of the Sport, Competition Plus Power Hour, Inside the NHRA. I'm like, which show am I actually on? But joining us now is my man Briar Starr. He was in Topeka, Kansas this past weekend, and also the Monday Morning Racer. He was in Topeka, Kansas as well. How's it going, you guys?
Not too bad.
Well, let's first start off because it was a very trying weekend for both you guys and the whole NHRA as a whole. Starting with you, Briar, just tell us about your whole experience from the hot weather on Friday to the cloud cover on Saturday to the rain all day Sunday morning. Just kind of tell us about your experience from Topeka, Kansas this past weekend.
It was a wild one. We had the 100-degree heat on Friday and Saturday, and then pulled into the track 8 a.m. Sunday morning. We had Lee can know we had no power, no internet access at the track for a little bit. So that was pretty crazy to start the day. And then it came back on and it poured down rain for several hours. We had lightning in the area. So it was a long 6 hours with rain and all that. But we finally got some sunshine and got a break and, had to dodge a few sprinkles here and there, but we finally got the race going. So.
And Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us real quick here on Inside the NHRA, man. You dodged rain, wind, thunder, lightning, everything, but a fitting way to end the final Heartland Nationals, final rounds under the lights. Tell us about your experience this weekend, man.
Certainly fitting. It should be final rounds under the lights at Heartland Motorsports Park in Topeka, Kansas. It was, yes, a trying and tiring weekend, but Mama raised no sissy. I walk everywhere I go, and my thermostat's broken. I've worked in 40 below, and I've worked in a shop of 120 degrees, so it was nothing. We humped it all day, got it done, and we're still working on getting product out as far as news concerning the competition in Top Alcohol Dragster and Top Alcohol Funny Car, hence here at the Topeka Public Library, nearly downtown. What a tremendous event it was. Look, the Safety Safari should get a big, huge bonus at the end of the year with everything they have had to go through so far this year when it comes to weather. But there was tremendous competition all across the board.
For sure, for sure. So let's now get into the Sportsman Report. Dave, shout out our Sportsman winners all the way up until Top Alcohol Funny Car and Top Alcohol Dragster. And I want you and Lee to kind of break down the alcohol classes. But give us the report, man, as I bring up this. There we go.
All right, so we've got Clark Smiley with the awesome supercharged G6 picking up the win in Competition Eliminator. Jimmy Hidalgo in Super Stock. Mike Cotton in Stock Eliminator. And, man, that's a name from the past with that Plymouth. How about a Plymouth Polaria that he raced in the finals, too? That was a heck of a run. Super Comp, Mark Graham, who actually the Super Comp final was a rematch of the same final round back in 1996 at this event. Roger Sauter in Super Gas, Darian Bosch in Top Sportsman, Blake Peebler in Top Dragster, and Joseph Thomas in the Streetcar Takeover, which was another awesome addition that they had. Some of those streetcars that were running on a heck of a show. And I know Lee wants to go over here. We'll probably go over to alcohol classes here. Hunter Green picks up the first career win. He becomes the 165th different driver to win in Top Alcohol Dragster. And Doug Gordon picks up the win in Top Alcohol Funny Car, running low ET and top speed in the final round, on the way to adding more points to a potential season and career-ending championship.
How about it? Congratulations to all of our Lucas Oil Sportsman winners from the final Menards NHRA Nationals. And so, Lee, let's start off with Top Alcohol Dragster. Like Dave said, Hunter Green picks up his first ever win, gets the win before his dad, obviously, in Nitro Funny Car. But, man, what a great job. You've been following Hunter for quite some time. Just talk about, I'm pretty sure you talked to him after the race. Just kind of how elated was he after getting that win?
Oh, he was certainly excited. And, yes, I've been following Hunter's career before I even knew I was following it. I didn't realize one time when he was attempting to earn his Top Fuel license that he was in the car that Tim Wilkerson owned, that now Buddy Hull owns, at a test session at the Texas Motorplex, and he had it all crossed up, the wheels folded over and everything. He has come a long way in his career, and he admitted that in my interview with him, that he has made a lot of mistakes, that the team has made some mistakes, but they all got it together and they prevailed in competition at Heartland Motorsports Park, a win that Randy Meyer wanted himself personally, being the last national event in Kansas. He's living there in Kansas and did it in style too. The ET and the speed they threw down and threw up, certainly spectacular on race day. I've got to say though, and I'm putting it obviously in my report that will come out hopefully later tonight, Round 1, Top Alcohol Dragster, absolutely bonkers. If you were in the top echelon of points in the nation, you didn't want to race because you got took out. The only person that made it out of round 1 that is anywhere in the top section of the points, third in fact, is John Cowie. He's the only one. Everyone else out. and in bizarre fashion, and then also in some of the closest races of the whole entire weekend. So Top Alcohol Dragster, wow, it was a wild one. And then in Top Alcohol Funny Car, if I may go ahead and onto that, I was very surprised that we had the number of cars that we did. Only 7 cars showed up for competition. I was really expecting a lot more cars to be in action. We didn't see Sean Bellamere. We didn't see Matt Gill, but those that were there, we're talking about some heavy hitters and Bob McCosh, Brian Howe, and also points leader Doug Gordon. An individual that I do want to point out that had stellar performance is Ulf Lenders, number 2 qualifier, made it to the final round, put up a good race against Doug Gordon, and I had to deliver spill plates for him from McKinney Corp. I just want you to know,
I saw that.
I think I had a reason to play in it. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Going back now to Top Alcohol Dragster, like we mentioned, Hunter Green got the win. But how about Tom Conway, a legend in the world of Top Alcohol Dragster? His son now driving, has been driving for quite a while now, but he makes it to the final round. Just talk about, how that team kind of went, and were you able to talk to them and kind of get an update on that team?
I was not. And one reason that I was not is, as a pit reporter, when alcohol is put under tight turnarounds, that puts me under a tight turnaround with everything else I'm also doing at a national event. Also, I'm hard-headed and I walk everywhere. In Topeka, if you've never been there, you have some serious walks. So I did not get to speak with Conway this particular time around, but it is fascinating that you had 2 legendary names in Top Alcohol Dragster in the final, Meyer and Conway, and yet both were vying for their first ever national wins for the first time in NHRA competition. So the storylines abounding from this last event, and you look at the situation in Top Alcohol Dragster, we certainly have, I think, as fans, everything that you could ask for in this class right now, except maybe if you're a fan of blown methanol. They aren't doing seemingly that well right now.
How'd your girl Julie Natus do? Just asking, just curious.
She went out round 1.
I know.
And probably in the closest, I haven't looked directly at the numbers, but you are probably looking at a situation of.
Hold on, I don't mean to cut you off, Lee. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to get to this comment. So this is what more can I say? Gary Ormsby Jr. Commenting here on Inside the NHRA. I thank Randy Meyer for allowing me to keep the track record 513 ET. Man, Dave, how badass is that right there?
Thank you, Gary. You completely ruined one of my stats of the race. 21 years later, Randy Meyer and Gary Ormsby Jr.'s 513 still will forever be the track record at Heartland Park, Topeka in a Top Alcohol Dragster.
G-O-G. How fitting is it that Gary Ormsby is actually our thumbnail for this show against Dick LaHaye?
Yeah, for sure.
How cool is that? 1990. How cool
heritage
is that?
there, a lot of Randy Meyer heritage there, a lot of Conway heritage. All right, so I'll throw out another stat. So Tom Conway's son was attempting to win his first. You know the winningest Top Alcohol Dragster driver at Heartland Park, Topeka?
Who?
Tom Conway. He's got 5 wins. He won the first 2 in 89 and 90. Then he backed it up with fall wins in 93, 94, and the July race of 1995. So he has the most out of anybody. And Randy Meyer himself, ironically, never won a national event at Heartland Park. Rachel did. Randy was runner-up to Rich McPhillips back in 2012, but Randy himself never did. So you had the winningest alcohol driver at the track with his son, in the car in the finals against the hometown boy and the track record holder, and Hunter going for the first win. So yeah, like Lee mentioned, storylines abound in that final round, and a lot of history in Heartland Park, and it all capped off with a beautiful race too. Beautiful final round.
Dave always coming through with the great stats, man. That's why I love this guy right here. Lee, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. I just want to show Gary Ormsby Jr.'s comment here on Inside the NHRA, but continue your thought.
Oh, as you should.
Yeah.
As you should.
Yeah.
No, Julie Natus had honestly one of the closest races of eliminations. I haven't compared numbers down to it, but huge implications. She had a decent light. Competitor's light was a little bit better. It was, I think it was 36 to 37, if I remember correctly. And you have a situation where, I'll put it this way, Randy Meyer, and talking to him earlier that day, they were extremely confident that she was going to go rounds and it was going to be a tit-for-tat type of situation. They were actually going to surpass Tony back in the point standings. It would have worked out that way, but that is not the case now. So, yes, this points race just got even more interesting, especially going into the U.S. Nationals. That's when Julie Natus will compete again. We won't see her in Brainerd. I haven't been able to look at the entry list as of yet to see if Tony is going to be there for the Brainerd National event. But he's got an opportunity to really stretch the points lead depending on what he does at the U.S. Nationals, and Julie does as well.
Well, little consolation for her, but even in that first round loss, she still does lead with top speed of the meet with that 280.19 mile an hour run. Was chasing him down, but just wasn't enough.
And again, you can look at Julie's career and you can say at times that almost some Brittany Force syndrome, that she has not left well, but she has been leaving well. And Randy even remarked that hey, her confidence seems back and she is driving well and the lights are there. She just lost a good drag race.
For sure. And Lee, I got to mess with you a little bit. Everybody loves Julie Natus. She's superstar top alcohol dragster. Everybody wants to know how she's doing, man. You're the, you bring all the reports for top alcohol for Funny Car and dragster. So I had to just ask about Julie Natus. She's a superstar, man. Superstar.
Yeah.
Speaking of superstars, thank you, Gary Ormsby Jr. for commenting. Gary did if you followed me on Facebook or the Top Alcohol Dragster group on Facebook, I did share the video of his run from 2002. Not the run itself, but just his interview in the pits. They did not have video of the actual run, and he commented on it and shared it. And even Randy Meyer Racing Team shared it. So I'm glad that it made it out to you guys, and you all got to enjoy that little trip down memory lane. And thank you for commenting on the show and being a part of history at Heartland Park.
Yeah, nobody wears Team Crew shirts like that anymore.
I don't get it. I was trying to. I didn't get it. All right, final thought right here on Top Alcohol Funny Car. Doug Gordon gets the win. I tell you what, final year behind the wheel, and seems like he wants to go out in style. Before he hands off the keys to his daughter, Maddie Gordon.
Well, what I find interesting about their story at the moment is, as far as I understand, they did not plan on changing motors until they blew it in Pacific Raceway. And since then, that motor change, they have found power that they were not expecting. And now you couldn't apply all of it to the track there early on at Heartland Motorsports Park for sure because of the conditions, but they have got the power right now. And he took the points lead at Pacific Raceways, and he certainly stretched it out at Heartland Motorsports Park. I think he also needs to thank Ulf Linders because they picked up in performance. He was the number 2 qualifier, and Ulf took out some key people such as Bob McCosh in this championship fight.
And is Doug Gordon going to Brainerd next weekend?
Yes.
And this is the anniversary of that crash last year, Greg. So a little redemption on the line for Doug Gordon going into this race this year.
Very true, very true. And it is an event that I wish I could make. Honestly, yes, for the event itself, I'll be at the World Fuel Alter Nationals in Eddyville this coming weekend. But testing on Monday, Maddie is slated to get back in the car, and they're going to attempt to complete the licensing process.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, before we get out of here, not the fanboy at all. Just want to say, Gio, if you want to, I did a very cool Gary Ormsby versus Joel Motto battle video on YouTube. I was very green at the time when I made these videos. Didn't know what I was doing, but if you'd like to check them out, go on American Hot Rod Entertainment on YouTube and look up Gary Ormsby versus Joel Motto, part 1 and part 2, 1989 and 1990. Love that battle. One of my favorite battles in Top Fuel history. So check that out if you would like. Lee, thank you, like I said, for taking time out of your busy schedule and giving us a cool little Sportsman alcohol reporting. And get back to all the hard work, man. Thank you.
I'm at the library. I was the editing before you brought me on, and I'm going to go back to that. Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Oh, hold on. Did you go to Baby Dolls out there?
No.
You should.
Did you go to testing today? Did anybody go down the track and set some records?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because you mentioned it when I was behind the scenes. No testing happened today. The only thing that happened today was servicing.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
But yeah, it did drop like 30 degrees. It was
Yeah, today was going to be like hit it and see how low we could go.
Like, where was all this weather?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Gentlemen, every one of you doing a fine job. I'm checking out to finish up my job.
All right. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Lee Craft, the Monday morning racer with alcohol port from the final Menards NHRA Nationals from iconic Heartland Motor Sports Park. And you catch me and Lee Craft tomorrow night on the Competition Plus Power Hour. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show with Pro Stock Car.
In the race for quality, there is no finish line. Jerry Bickle Race Cars is a one-stop chassis shop for drag racing performance parts and race components. For over 50 years, Jerry Bickle Race Cars has been an essential part of racers' plans for building world champion race cars. Our parts department is stocked with every part a racer might need. Log on to jerrybickle.com for more information. We build anything with doors. jerrybickle.com.
Well, like I said earlier, we've been using the word fitting a lot during this show. A very fitting end to the final Menards NHRA Nationals. Well, what a fitting way to end off Pro Stock, as they were the last pair down the track at this final event. And guess what that pair was? It was Erica and it's Greg. And it was KB and it was Elite. It was under the lights and they put on a show. Erica Enders gets the win, second win of the year, 45th of her career in Pro Stock. And Erica Enders, man, Dave, it just seems like she rises to the occasion in these big time moments. And she did that in Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, yeah, she did. Yeah, it was a heck of a final. And I really wish, whatever was going on in that lane on the left-hand side, that it could have been just a straight to the finish line 2-car battle. I don't know what happened. Greg got a little bit loose over there. If it was the lane, if it was the setup, whatever it was, but he was definitely trying to play catch up. As Erica, like you said, she puts it on when she puts it on, and like you said in an interview, this Wally's going right next to the one from Houston, so that's 2 tracks she's closed down with a win. And we were there in Houston to see that happen. Wish we were here in Topeka to see that one go down. And definitely posted on Facebook after the fact that they did drive it back from victory lane. So awesome to see them pick up second. Hard to believe it's only second win of the year. I mean, geez, we're already in August and we're only talking about win number 2 after last year, how that team was kind of rocking and rolling. But it was going to be a good race either way. I figured Erica was going to get some on the tree, and Greg had run low ET in the semis. I kind of figured, well, that might even it out a little bit. And then Erica came right back with another 61 of herself. And unfortunately, Greg had to push into clutch, but it was a good run up to that point.
Definitely drive that beat back. And I'll tell you what, in that final round, under the lights, when I saw Erica, and I know, like you said, Greg Anderson, low ET in that semifinals, but when I saw Erica got that advantage on the starting line in the final round, I was like, good night, it's over. But like I said, Greg, I was like, Greg was not lifting, though. He was not lifting whatsoever.
No, he did not want to. You could tell that.
He was
Brian,
hugging that center line.
Were you at the top end when that one was going down? Could you tell what was going on from your vantage point, from the media center?
So not really, because when it gets dark like that, we can't really see anything in the media center because it's like very bright with the lights on. So we can only watch from the little TV mini setup that we had. I was gonna go outside and watch outside, but I couldn't really find a good vantage point just to see what that race would have been like, because I would have gotten it on video. But it would have been cool to watch it. It looked like a really great race that took place in the finals.
For sure. Yeah. And for those that don't know, the media center at Heartland Park Topeka is just at or just beyond the finish line on the that'd be over the left-hand side on the other side of the road course. So that's where their vantage point was. And also a huge shout out for Breyer for keeping us updated on the weather updates throughout the day and sending pictures and seeing how things were playing out. So thank you for that, Breyer, as well, keeping the day moving.
Yeah, Brian. How many times did I call you? You got it, Brian.
You called me a couple of times. I was keeping everybody updated with the weather, and in the media center too. Like I'm like, hey, I'm local from around here, so I know what's going on, and so I was just kind of, watching the, satellite radar and all that sort of stuff, see if there's any hope for getting racing in and all of that. And, but yeah, it was when that cold front moved through, it created for a beautiful backdrop in the background with all the dark clouds when the pro stock and the final rounds. Yes, we had a rainbow. We had everything except tornadoes.
Well, that's always good.
Woo.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, it was a great race. It was a long day, but it was a fantastic event.
Dave, do you have the ET and speeds up for the round by round?
For pro stock, sure.
For pro stock, do you have it?
Where are we at? What are we looking at here?
You want to call the pro stock highlights? Erica Enders first.
Sure, we'll start with Erica. Okay, no problem.
Let's do it.
Roll it. First round, Erica against Chris McGahey. Erica leaves first, 0.26 to his 0.38. Comes out with a 6.66 with a 0 to Chris's 6.709. Picks up the first win of the day. Comes up second round against teammate Aaron Stanfield. And almost gets the whole shot. Stanfield leaves first by 1,000. But Erica has the power to drive around 6.65.5 to a 6.66 with a 4. Moves on to the semifinals up against points leader Dallas Glenn. Puts a 009 on 00 Dallas and drives away. And Dallas with a 6.629 could not catch her 6.637. How sweet it is to take out the points leader on a hole shot and with a 00 on top of it.
00 reaction time to take out 00 Dallas. But if we go one round before that, Dallas Glenn and Camry Caruso beat Camry by only 0.007 of a second. 007 went like Glenn. Dallas Glenn, he takes out Camry Caruso. I was about to do that. I was hoping Dallas Glenn won the race so I could do that.
Well, you still got to anyway, so it worked out.
Yeah, I got you. In the final round, is going to take on Greg Anderson. So let's now take a look at the highlights of Greg Anderson's day. Want to call it for me, Dave?
Yeah, go for it. Greg Anderson's day started out against David Quadra. He ended up leaving pretty close to second, 0.38 to 0.43 light, 6.64.9 though. Took care of David Quadra's 6.723, which set up a round 2 matchup against Troy Coughlin Jr. Greg actually left first, which stunned just about everybody, 0.23 to an 0.32, and a 6.64 flat beats a 6.64.7 for Troy, which sets up a semifinal run against Derek Kramer. Again, Greg Anderson nailing the tree, 0.24 to Kramer's 0.38, runs low ET of the weekend, 6.613 to Derek Kramer's 6.63 with a 0 to set up that epic final round up against Erica Enders.
So it's Erica Enders, is Greg Anderson, final round from the final race from Heartland Motorsports Park. Let's take a look at that final round right now.
Greg Anderson now across the racetrack, sitting in pre-stage and fully staged. 100th advantage for Erica. 400th advantage in the 1,000. 4th advantage in the... Oh, he hit the blocks! Eric Anders goes 6.61.7 at 2:06. Anderson was falling behind late. He moved to the center of the racetrack and hit the blocks anyway. But Eric Anders picks up her second victory of the season.
And there is the final Wally that will be handed out from Topeka. And Erica, you were surrounded by KB starting in the semis, and you said you love a good fight. How do you always rise to the occasion?
A lot of seat time, Amanda. This is 20 years strong, but more importantly, my dad and my sister and my mom being in my corner, making me mentally tough and believing in me when I don't believe in myself. And I want to tell you something about my boys, man. When the rest of Elite Motorsports was eliminated today, every single one of those guys was over on my car. Big Al Lindsay was helping change valve springs. Kelly Murphy was there. Logan, Chase, everybody just rallied. But for Connor and Declan, who are on my car, Connor's grandma's not doing so well, but we're going to send her our best wishes and our prayers. Allie Bland, you as well. But this is badass, going right next to the last Houston, baby. Woo!
Erica Enders was surrounded by KB Titan cars in the semifinals. She was the lone elite car in the semifinals, and she still comes out on top. She gets the win, second win of the year, 45th, of her illustrious career. She is now one behind Angelle Sampey, the winningest female in NHRA history, two behind from becoming the winningest female in NHRA history. Erica Enders, that's a bad gal right there.
For sure. And, you know, some Heartland Park history for Erica. If you're the Slammers Ultimate Milk Cobalt that she used to drive, this was her first number one qualifying position, came here in 2006. She was on the pole, and it was the first time that she ever had low ET and top speed of the meet. So a lot of Heartland history for Erica, too. So fitting for her to come out with the last Wally.
You ever had Slammers Milk? I always wanted to try it when she had that sponsor. You ever had Slammers Milk?
No, I don't think it was sold in anywhere near where I lived. It was very, what would you call that? Not seasonal.
Regional?
Regional, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. It was very regional, and it was not in the Chicagoland region, so it was cool to see. I would have been more than happy to. As a matter of fact, her hero card even had tear-off coupons for Slammers Milk. Just never had a store near me that I can go try it.
So far this year in pro stock, it's really been Dallas Glenn, Matt Hartford, Derek Kramer, Troy Coughlin Jr. Those have been kind of like the heavy hitters. And obviously, you know, we know Erica Enders got that win in Bristol earlier this season, but it's been a kind of a trying year for both Erica and Greg. You talk about it. That's usually the battle year in, year out. It's Erica Enders, Greg Anderson. That's usually what we talk about. That hasn't been the case so far here in 2023. But I'll tell you what, they were both strong from the first qualifying session on Friday to the final round. They pretty much were the top two cars, excluding Dallas Glenn, who took away the number one qualifying spot. Could this be a turn right now to see these guys and gals kind of get back on top in the class as we head into the countdown to the championship in just a few races?
It could be. Whoever won that final was going to leave this race fifth in points. Ended up being Erica, but they both leapfrogged Aaron Stanfield. So Aaron dropped 2. Now Greg and Erica both moved up. But again, just like we're talking about all the rest of the categories, it's a heck of a battle, at least in pro stock, for second on back. But Dallas Glenn is just so far out. He's leaving here 228 points ahead of second place, which Troy Coughlin Jr. is right behind Matt in third. Derek Kramer, Erica, Greg. I mean, they're all right there, and it's just going to be what happens when we reset the points after Indy. And if you're getting hot at the right time and you erase that 200 to 300 point gap that you are behind, it's going to be real interesting to see how the last 6 play out.
I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. And I'm being honest, and I might be going out on a limb right now. I want to see Dallas Glenn or Matt Hartford win this championship because I'm big fans of both guys. But I'll tell you what, Erica Enders, like I said, she just seems to be able to dig deep and pull it out and rise to the occasion in these big moments. Everything changes once we get to the countdown to the championship. And if they can find a little bit more performance, I think Erica Enders could win that 6 pro stock championship here this year. I believe that's a definite possibility.
You know what? The way I look at it, it's really hard to pick a clear-cut favorite. All we can tell for sure at this particular point, with only 2 races to go, everybody else is eliminated. Nobody else can point their way in. It's just the 16 drivers who have been going to every race that's perfect attendance. And as long as they go to Brainerd and Indy, we've got our countdown field. It is going to be 16 cars. So basically do a points reset. Everybody's got a shot. What would I like to see? How about 8 of them still going in for the championship when we get to Pomona? How about half of them still in contention? I hope it's just as competitive and topsy-turvy going down through the countdown. And, you know, we get a battle like 1990 where you're talking about around here, around there. Every race matters. Every round matters. And that would be awesome. And no matter who comes out on top, they earned it.
Oh, man, you talk about 1990. You got Alderman, Larry Morgan, Bob Glidden, Warren Johnson, Jerry Ekman, all 5 of those guys still with a shot at the championship going into the final race of the season. What a great battle right there. That battle doesn't get talked about enough. Briar, your thoughts. You were in Topeka, but, you know, obviously seeing Erica Enders get the win, your thoughts of seeing her, like I said, kind of a trying year so far. Kind of has some ups and downs. Won Bristol early in the year. How cool is to see Erica Enders back on top and drive that beat back in Topeka, Kansas?
Yeah, you know, I actually read a story on her today, and my race recap was on Pro Stock class to give them a little bit of a, you know, spotlight. And yeah, you know, I was looking over her stats today, and she's kind of had a trying year. You know, she had a rough start of the season, opening up Gainesville, not being able to race again, and first round losses here and there. And you know, she did win at Bristol, but then she kind of went on the, you know, losing streak a little bit again until winning at Topeka. And I was going to point out too, thinking it was in the semifinals, looking here on the stat sheet, her reaction light against Dallas Glenn was like 0.009, and that was like a monstrous light that she cut there in the in the semifinal. So like the best reaction time all day. So yeah, it was great to see your win. I think, had it been earlier in the day with no rain, it probably would have been a really popular win for the fans if there was a full crowd on hand.
Hey, but you say that when I was watching on Fox, it sounded like when they pulled every pair of finals to the starting line, the crowd just started cheering. Like it was like crowd like erupted. Is that the case?
Yeah, and maybe there could have been. We just couldn't really see it from our viewpoint because again, it was just so dark and we couldn't really see it. There wasn't much lighting around in our area. So,
did you catch that on Fox, Dave? Like I said, when I saw them bring the top field final up, I heard the crowd kind of roar, and then the same thing for the pro stock final.
I did, and I kind of had Fox like on half volume, and I was watching NHRA.TV at the same time to see which one was going to happen first, and so I didn't really have the sound up all too much on that. But shout out to the crowd, the diehard crowd that did stay throughout the entire race. No, it was not, unfortunately, a sold out packed house like we've seen at some of the other final events that we've had. But what a hardy bunch that showed up and sat through all the weather and delay. And every time they were on the camera from NHRA TV, the starting line camera showing the Christmas tree, that little grandstand that's off to the right of the tower. I mean, there was always people in it at any point. Even if it's raining, they're drying the track. There was always somebody there just wanting to be part of the last national event.
Definitely, for sure. Got to give a big shout out to the fans for sticking out the bad weather in Topeka, Kansas. We know that Midwest weather is kind of bipolar, a little unpredictable. Let's now take a look and see how it played out in pro stock car. Let's take a look at the pro stock ladder. Dave, anybody else in pro stock you kind of want to shout out?
Yeah, we want to shout out everybody. They're awesome. They did a great job. They put on a great show. How about some of the more bigger surprises, I think, to me? Jerry Tucker had a really great car in qualifying, ended up on a first-round loss to Derek Kramer. The Quadras, all of them, qualified for the show, and they all, unfortunately, ended up as first-round losses. Mason McGahey, the only DNQ of the weekend. The big surprise to me, I think, is how about Kyle Koretsky going out first round? He's another one that's been kind of struggling as we're going forward towards this countdown. Definitely needs a good, get healthy weekend, but he is in points. Surprising to see the struggles that he has had. Bo Butner had a strong car in qualifying. Camry Caruso, well, you already mentioned the run that she had with Dallas. How about both of them having matching ETs and that one just being decided on a little baby hole shot, as Alan likes to say on the PA. Matt Hartford and Derek Kramer was a huge round 2 matchup, which we had to wait quite some time for. They had the rain delay right before that, and that's why the finals, why they ended up staying at Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock as opposed to running Pro Stock first, because they were almost a round behind when it came to turnaround time. But, I mean, just a shout-out to everybody. And I don't know if they probably didn't play it on the Fox show, but if you were watching NHRA TV or if you've seen it on the YouTube channel, did you guys check out the reaction time challenge that they had in the pits before it? How about Cody Anderson coming out with the win there of the reaction time challenge? And shout-out to his pops, Greg. Maybe that motivated him a little bit. Greg cutting 020 and 030 lights all day is pretty good for him.
Nah, for sure. Like you said, we were all kind of stunned when he was first off the line against TJ. I was pretty stunned about that. You think TJ, the young kid, he's going to get the start line advantage, but no, Greg pulled it out right there, not won the race right there.
Right here, my man.
Hey, talk about the few delays we had during the day. Both delays. So obviously we had the long rain delay in the morning that pushed it back to about 4 p.m. local time. But the other 2 delays were right before Pro Stock came up, right before round 2 of Pro Stock, and then right before the semifinals of Pro Stock. So Pro Stock is like not really. Both sides of Pro Stock. It was crazy.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
The weather guys don't like Pro Stock. They want nitro.
I guess not. They want nitro. Let's pull up the Pro Stock point standings one more time before we get out of here. Like you see, Dallas Glenn in the number 1 spot. Matt Hartford ways back. He's a distant second. Troy Coughlin Jr. third. Derek Kramer fourth. Eric Enders, like you said, rounds out the top 5 with defeating Greg Anderson in that final round. And like you mentioned, Kyle Koretsky, struggling year so far. He only sits 10th in the Pro Stock standings. Bo Butner 11th. And Jerry Tucker in the 12th spot. Mason McGahey is 13th. So yeah, I'll tell you what. Like in every class, it's a toss-up in Pro Stock car. And I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out once the countdown to the championship comes, which is only in a couple of races. It's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be very exciting. Can't wait.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Any final thoughts on Pro Stock before we get out of here, guys? Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing.
Well, I thought it was a great show, and I thought that it was nice to see him get down in the low 660s there towards the end of the day as the weather got better. Kind of like the nitro cars, every run that they had, that it was a little bit later. They got a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. And, I mean, just what a competitive show. Just shout out to all the teams. There were very few – shout out to all the teams in all the categories. There were very few aborted runs for the tricky track conditions, the changing weather conditions. Yeah, we had a couple of tire smokers, a couple of early shutoffs, a couple of dropped cylinders. But for the most part, most every pair that went down the track was a really competitive, good race. And what else could you ask for?
What else could you ask for? And like I said, we've said this word plenty of times during the show. This can be the word of the show, fitting. And it definitely was fitting. Great racing all day long and final rounds under the lights. What a great send-off for Heartland Motorsports Park. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up the show.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your central console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside the NHRA. Darren Williams Jr., along with the man, the myth, the legend, Dave W., and my man, Briar Starr from Kicking the Tires. He was in Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas this past weekend. And like we mentioned time and time again, what a great show, what a great send-off for that iconic racetrack. Briar, you're actually from Kansas. Just talk about, how emotional this is to see that racetrack kind of go away. You've been going there the past couple of years. How sad is it to see this racetrack have its final race here this past weekend?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird day yesterday, just with the rain early in the morning and knowing it was going to be the last race. Not really sure how to feel about it because I met a lot of cool people that work inside the sport and incredible people that, were pretty great to me and have given me a lot of great advice when I was there. And so, it was pretty strange to walk out of the media center last night for potentially the final time. Hopefully not, but we'll see. It was just, like I said, just the rain threw us off most of the day. And so it was kind of a, like I said, just a strange schedule, just the way everything worked out. And so, yeah, I'm not really sure how to feel about it yet, but it's definitely kind of sad to see it go because I think had the rain not impacted the event, I think there would have been a great turnout for the final race for sure.
Were you able to take it all in though? Because, and I asked that when I went to the final Houston race and the final race at Denver, I've said time and time again, I love these cool wraparound tires, these state-of-the-art, these state-of-the-art tracks with these cool towers on the starting line. After each event, even the races where it's not their final race, like when I went to Charlotte, when the race is over, I just kind of take it all in. Being from Southern California, no, I'm a ways away from Denver. I'm a ways away from Houston. I'm a ways away from Charlotte. After the race is over, I go on the track and I just stare at the tower. I turn around, I face the tower and I just stare at it, take pictures. And I'm just be able to witness this in person. And then what I do is I literally walk. I don't always walk the full quarter mile, but I walk at least 660 feet. I'm not a young man no more, so I don't walk the whole quarter mile, but I usually walk about 660 feet and just say that I was able to, walk on this racetrack where all these legends have raced down and stuff like that. So did you do anything like that this past weekend to kind of take it all in, or how'd you do to kind of cope with it?
Basically what I did was I tried to walk the pits as much as I could to just see all the teams working on their cars, and didn't really necessarily walk the track just because there was just so much that was happening throughout the day, and didn't really have a chance to. So, but yeah, I just, even during the rain delays and when it was raining in the morning before it was really heavy, when it was just a sprinkle, I knew we weren't starting on time, so I was like, oh, I'll just go walk the pits with the rest of the fans, and that's kind of what I did, and yeah, I mean, I was like, well, I guess this is it. So
I got you, man. I got you. And like I said, we brought you on second half of the show. Just your thoughts on Top Fuel and Funny Car before we get out of here. Justin actually getting the win, sixth win of his career. I mean, sixth win of the year, 11th of his career. He has a strong car, man. He's making a case as being a favorite for the championship as we head into the countdown in just a few races.
yeah, it would not surprise me if Justin runs away with the championship. Like Gage Herrera and motorcycles. It would surprise me if he runs away with the championship too. So, yeah, Ashley seems to be turning it up at the right time of the year. 6 wins already. Tasca repeats again. He was the champion here last year. So, I guess I can't say I'm too surprised about the winners. They kind of, keep up with the changing track conditions. The final rounds was actually in the 70s. So, you knew you were going to get cooler speeds and, faster speeds, low ETs. So that's what I meant. But I'm kind of not really surprised. It was, it just shows the cream always rises to the top with these certain situations.
For sure. And the countdown changes everything. So particularly in Top Fuel, I think it's anybody's game right now. Obviously, I think like Justin and Steve are like obviously the favorites, but it's anybody's game really. You think about Justin Ashley, he has the win so far, 6 wins on the season. One thing he has to clean up though is the first round losses. Well, Steve Torrence doesn't have the wins, but he's very consistent. I think that's just really going to kind of average this thing out and going to make it a great battle once we get to the countdown to the championship. And I think that difference maker is that Justin Ashley pretty much owns Steve Torrence in competition the past couple of years. That may be the difference maker in the countdown. I can't pick a winner right now. It's consistency versus the guy who wins a lot. So it's going to be a fun countdown in Top Fuel. I'll tell you what. Hopefully we get another winner's curse like last year. The countdown where you win a race and you go out first round of the next race. That'll be really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. And I was going to throw in too, like Steve Torrence, he won Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge, I think, on Saturday. I think you guys just mentioned too. So, yeah, he looked like he was going to have a good weekend. I wrote a story on him today as well on Kicking the Tires. So,
okay, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, and like I said, this is a conversation for another day. But obviously, so Justin Ashley has won 5 Mission Foods challenges so far this year, so that's 15 points. Steve Torrence has won 1, so that's 3 points. Well, if you're trying to gain those points back, and there's no hate against anybody, but I just feel like if you win the Mission Foods challenge, you should get the 3 points, and nobody else should get points. Because it's like it defeats the purpose. Because it's like, well, Justin Ashley still gets 2, so it's like you're gonna gain 1 point on him. I don't know if I agree with that really. I don't know. Am I complaining too much? I don't know. I'm complaining too much. Okay, I got you. Dave's ready to go. Any final thoughts?
The 4 drivers in the Tasty Challenge get a point. So,
but you can't gain anything though.
How would you make it to the final 4? You're in the Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge, and you're the one guy that doesn't get any points. How's that suck?
But I'm saying though, I feel like you can't gain anything though if the guy that you beat in the final still gets 2 points, you get 3 points, you only make up a point on him.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is, I guess. Like I said, I just feel like the winner should get the points, and then I don't know. Well, it's the first year of it, but hey, it is what it is. Any final thoughts, Dave? Final race from Topeka. It
was a great race. Wish it would have all been completed on Sunday. As far as the Sportsman cars, they could have had a normal race day Sunday. That the rain didn't impact it, that the rain came in later in the afternoon and they started at 10 o'clock, and maybe we could have got the cool weather rounds out. First round would have been epic at that particular point. I was looking forward to that. Unfortunately, didn't end up happening that way, but still shout out to all the NHRA staff and Safety Safari and Fox production crew and the racers for being able to get their cars turned around in time, the Sportsman racers who stayed late into Saturday evening and got their cars turned around in time, had to run in round robin mode to get that stuff done. It wasn't the ideal way that we wanted to finish Topeka, but we finished it. The last one's in the books, and congratulations to all the winners. And like you say, just fitting the way it works out. Every driver that won had a storyline, whether it was from Justin Ashley, like you said, his connection to Epler, his father winning, Erica's first number 1 there, first low ET, top speed. She comes back with a win. She repeated the final against Greg and from 2015 with another win there. Bob Tasca going back-to-back, laying down low ET. Fitting that's how Funny Car ends, considering Mark Oswald started the Heartland Park Topeka, reigned with 3 in a row, and now Bob Tasca ends up with 2 in a row. It's as a end result. Hunter Green wins his first race. The alcohol funny car final, Doug Gordon on his way to the championship, the Super Comp final that was a throwback to 96 that the results got reversed. I mean, there was a lot of history. There was a lot that you could pick out in any class, any category, anything that was going on. And I sure enjoyed watching it on Fox, on FS1, on NHRA.TV, caught all the action, and sad that we won't be going back there. But if there's any miracle or chance that we can bring it back, come on back in October or September or something. Enough of these heat races. Let's see what this place can do. I mean, this is a record-setting drag strip for a reason.
Oh, for sure. Hey, while we're at it, put Chicago back in the fall, too. While we're at it, just put them all back in the fall.
Yeah.
Put Chicago back in the fall.
It'd be great. Take up that countdown.
Scott Malpus says, a Pro Mod E1 is 9:30 a.m. Sunday at Brainerd International Raceway before the track walk. Remember, this is the first race of the Pro Mod playoffs in Brainerd. That is huge right there. Pro Mod E1, 9:30 a.m. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be exciting. Watch out for that. James Qualls, Red Racer 1985 says, and agreed, I think this year's Pro Stock Points Chase has the potential of having about 5 or 6 drivers for the title, as I predicted how 2022 was going to go down. And then Gio Jr. says, thank you guys. Glad I could say I still hold the record at Heartland Park, Topeka after 21 years. And he says, Justin Ashley is my pick for the championship. He's picking Justin Ashley. Take it all in Top Fuel Eliminator. Drag Race Essential says, too fast, too tasty challenge is more important than Sunday. Mr. Flyer, finally got my Brainerd tickets and then some today. We'll see you there. Is anyone going? Asking, is anyone going to Brainerd next weekend in the zoo? That should be a lot of fun. And then Josie, hey Gary, I'm a big fan of yours from Texas. Glad to see you here and still loving drag racing. And I want to say thank you guys all for tuning into this Monday edition of Inside the NHRA. The race ended too late last night. We couldn't get a show in. If we would have went live last night, everybody would have been asleep. They would have just come off 5 hours of watching the race live on Fox. Like, why would you want to come back and watch us boring people for 2 hours to talk about the races? Like, we just saw it. Why want to see you guys talk about it now? So we was like, hey, let's move this thing to Monday. And so thank you guys all for tuning in. And what's up? What's up?
Credit where credit's due. Those were my words. You were ready to go live at 10. You're like, cool, the finals are done. Let's get this show on the road. And I'm like,
that is so true.
I'm going to bed. I've been watching this deal all day.
That is so true. I told Dave, I was like, we're going live at 10. He's like, no, I'm going to bed. I'm like, that's so true.
No, that ain't happening.
I would have been on the road.
That is so true. And now my connection's going out, so that means it's time to go. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in to this special edition of Inside the NHRA. And we'll see you guys next weekend in Brainerd. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.